tune in to My Messy Beautiful Life today to learn about kids' antics, water leaking into homes, snow, and how to do water mitigation and inspections of your home appropriately. Happy freezing Friday! Today it is -12 outside in frozen Minnesota. Welcome to My Messy Beautiful Life. My question for you today is, what is it with socks? Socks. I don't know if you guys have this problem, but socks end up everywhere in my house. My children cannot keep them on their feet. They take them off. I found them in the kitchen. I find them in a closet. I find them under the sofa. I find them on a couch. I find them in my office. I find them everywhere. I don't even know how you can get rid of that many socks. And then the other problem is then you go to wash these socks and then none of them have pairs. I don't know what you guys do with your unmatched socks. I have a bin that I keep them in, and then I make my children marry the socks. And so we have a wedding, and they have to match all the socks, or try to, and most often they don't do a very good job, and I step in and I follow up and I continue to marry the socks. And if anything is too old, then it gets chucked. But I just am like, oh my goodness, socks. While I'm at it about stuff disappearing, do you guys have this problem? But what is it with scissors? Scissors always disappear. It doesn't matter how many pairs of scissors I have. I swear I can never find them when I need to cut something open. I look and I look and I look, and these things just vanish. I just sometimes think someday I'm going to open a drawer or a cupboard or some hidden place, and there'll be a ghost that took all my scissors and they'll have shoved them in this magic corner and I'll find them because I don't know where they vanished to. I will say one time I went outside in the summertime and I looked into this really dense bush, and way at the bottom, I found a pair of scissors. So apparently one of my children cut something open and then shoved the scissor inside the bush. So maybe they're randomly stashed in yards and trees, and I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know what it is about those scissors, but they seem to disappear. While I'm on it about losing things, I should probably talk about my cell phone. I lose it so many times a day, and I have to believe it's due to my working memory is not great because of the ADHD. I lose it constantly. I think I may have lost years of my life looking for my lost cell phone. I had somebody who gave me one of those tiles to put on my phone to help me with finding it, but then I lost the tile, so that wasn't very helpful. I end up calling my phone and trying to have it ring and find it that way. It's so bad, I actually named my phone. So my phone's name is Fiona. Every time I lose it, I start yelling, Fiona, where are you? Fiona, where are you? And then my kids all look for it with me. And it's kind of our going joke now. But I think if you have ADHD, you may understand what this is like. But I will say the one thing is I try not to spend a lot of time on my phone when I'm with my kids so that I can really interact with them and they can feel important and I can be an engaged parent. And when I set my phone down to engage with my kids, I most often lose it and can't find it again. I should probably put it in the same place every time, but for whatever reason, I don't. Or I'll be walking around and I'll just set it somewhere and then, again, can't find it. Now, the other thing I really don't understand about children is laundry. I'd like to take this time to apologize to any future partner that my children may have. I have tried my best to produce children that are cleanly or at least pick up after themselves. However, my children do not. I will wash and clean the clothes and bring them upstairs. I will put them on the floor. I will say, put them away. And instead, they leave them on the floor and then they start to put dirty clothes into clean clothes. And then I threaten that they'll have to clean all their clothes and they don't care. And then I try to bribe them, and then I try to punish them, and I've tried just leaving them in the laundry baskets, and then again, stuff ends up all over the floor, and we don't know what's clean or what's dirty. My latest thing is, because I love the saying that is a sign of insanity, is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. So this time, I came upstairs into their bedroom when they were at school, and on a lunch hour, I picked up all of the clothes that were on the floor, and I started a massive washing. And I washed every single piece of clothing I could find that was on the floor. Then I found plastic bins and I wrote clean clothes on them and I threw them in their closets on the floor. And then I got their laundry baskets and I strategically placed them by their bedside and in the bathroom where I find the most dirty clothes. And I told my children that the dirty clothes needed to end up in the laundry basket. And if I found them on the floor, I would be picking them up and they would be going into a bag and they were not allowed to have those clothes and they'd have to buy them back from me. And they'd have to earn their money through working for me and then they had to buy their clothes. And my child says, well, what if I just decide to be naked? I said, not a choice. You will have to buy your clothes back. Too bad. And just pick them up and put them in the laundry basket. I told them I'd give them a few free days. And so every day I come up here and be like, I think I see some dirty clothes. And they end up in the laundry baskets. And I will say, knock on wood, it's been about 4 days I can have been able to see the carpet. So we may be making progress. I'm not entirely sure. While I'm on the subject of questioning children's behavior, what is it with small children? And whenever I get into the shower, I hear, Mom, every time. Mom, it's like they hear the water and they think, now would be an excellent time to have a conversation and ask for X. I don't know if you have that problem, but every day, I swear it's every single day. I can even say, I'm going to take a shower now. Please go see someone else if you need help. I'm not going to take very much time. Is there anything you need? And 2 seconds later, Mom. Oh my goodness, drive me crazy. Seriously, just today, while I was trying to take a shower, which took about 5 to 10 minutes, I had my children come in 3 times into the bathroom. 3 times. And other adults were in the home that could have helped them, but nope, only Mom can help. It reminds me of when they were really, really little, and I remember being in the shower, and one of my kids came in to use the bathroom in the middle of my shower and then asked me to wipe his butt. Seriously? While I'm in the shower, and I'm sure that time there were other adults in the home. The other thing that I was thinking about is with my kids is why can they never put their dishes in the kitchen? They put them everywhere but the kitchen. And you say, please don't eat here, and then they eat there. It's crazy. So I'm always have these dishes, and I always make them pick up. So it's not that you don't force them to pick up or ask them to pick up. They can do it. They just have this magic way of spreading and dispersing all over the house. So I think if you need anything to be spread, because kids are also very, very good at spreading illness, they could spread the plague to whoever, you don't like. Be like, here, have the plague, spread it forth, and they could spread it. So I think maybe I just need to strategically give them things that they need to spread forth. And then, like it will grow and it will go and we will change the world. We just need to use our children with these gifts of spreading or maybe destroying, depending on who you like or you don't like. Over the last few days, we have gotten about 1.5 feet of snow, and they canceled school for a couple days. And the first thing is they wanted us to do some distance learning. And I'm so sorry, teachers, any people that are out there, but I work full time, so I'm just not going to be doing the distance learning. So if my kids don't feel motivated, I'm probably not going to be able to help guide them through. It brought me back to the COVID days. It's like, pray for me. My kids are going to be home inside with me for 2 whole days, and I'm going to be trying to work. Good luck. Every time I would be trying to look at analytics or something detailed. Mom, hey, Mom. The dogs, they just lifted their legs and peed on my clean laundry. No kidding, seriously happened. Mom, we just poured guava juice all over this cloth chair, the only cloth chair in our entire home. No kidding, seriously happened. Mom, I was playing with my brothers and somehow slipped and got my lip bloody everywhere. There's blood everywhere. Seriously, not kidding, happened. One kiddo, I told, hey, we need to be away from technology. You guys have been on technology too much. So I want you guys to either A, go build with Legos, B, make a dance routine, C, play a game, D, go draw something and tell me where it's at. Go forth, do great things. And they did well for a while. And then they started to get squirrely. And then I said, you guys go and you can have a technology break. Well, then my 5-year-old came up, Mom, 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 I want to play with my brothers. Mom, Mom, Mom. I said, go tell them Mom wants to see you. So he goes all the way down to the basement and tells them. And of course, they ignore him. And he comes back up, Mom, Mom, Mom. They won't listen to me. So I took a note and I wrote down, children, you must come upstairs. If you do not, then something bad will happen to you. And he brought it down there, and one child came up and one did not. So I had to go all the way down to the basement and say, guess what? Something bad's going to happen to you now. And he came upstairs. They all wanted me to make them lunch, so I made them lunch. And we got to the end of lunch, and I said, child number 1, you listened, here's some ice cream. Child number 2, you listened, you get ice cream. Child number 3, womp womp. That's your bad thing that happened. No ice cream for you. He got angry. He went upstairs to his room and he slammed the door. And this horrible, horrible crash, boom, 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 bam, happened. And I was like, what is that? So I come racing around the corner. He had slammed the door. My framed diploma flew off the wall when he slammed the door. It hit my desk. It knocked over all these things. They went flying off the desk. They went flying so far, they flew down the stairs and broke a bunch of things and dented the floor. As you can imagine, it was not my proudest moment. I was so angry. I started yelling at him, bleep, bleep, you are in big trouble, bleep, bleep, you're in big trouble, blah, 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 blah. I was so angry. I ended up cleaning up the mess, and I have a big giant Post-it note on my wall, and my kids have opportunities to earn money and then spend it how they want to so they can learn about money and how to spend it and what happens when you buy things you maybe shouldn't and you can't buy things when you want to. So I teach them money this way. On the list, he had money and he had worked, and so he had some more money. Well, guess what? Him losing his temper, slamming the door, breaking my stuff, I had to come up with the cost to replace those items and took it off the list, and now he's out of money. So now he has to start over again. So I'm thinking before he slams the door again, he's going to think twice. Either that or I may take the door off because I never want to experience that again. But that also happened during my work day when I was trying to work. Good thing I was not in a meeting and it was during my lunch hour. But God bless you guys who have to have your kids stay home with you from time to time, because it is hard to be a working parent and have your kids home with you. Whew, I was so happy that they went back to school today. Woo-hoo! No more kids at home. Can focus on work. Hallelujah. Since it was -12 today, some of the things that we get to look forward to when it's so very cold are, on the bright side, you may have the opportunity to see something called a sundog, and it's where the sun is shining and you see a rainbow on either side of it because the ice crystals reflect the sun and create rainbows. That's a pretty cool thing to experience and see. The not cool things to experience are when your skin becomes so dry, like the Sahara Desert, and it hurts and it cracks. I have been on a quest for years to try to find a product that could help my face, other than just putting some Vaseline all over my face. I have really struggled to find something. I have used everything, and I swear my face is still dry. I just keep lathering it on, cream after cream, trying to get my poor skin to be happy. So that's one thing. In addition, my eyes get dry, so I'll get those little drops out, not Visine, the ones that are supposed to be liquid, and I'm like, gloom, 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 gloom. So dry, so dry. But then in the summertime, because of all the water and all the lakes here, then the heat, it all of a sudden gets super humid. So we get both sides of the spectrum. Now, I think it can help if you have a thing on your furnace that adds moisture to your home, but we have one, except it's broken, and I haven't had anybody come to fix it yet. And that might be because I was fixing things like the well. This time of year, we start getting very tired of winter. It starts to get cold here in about October. Then in November, you can start to get some snow. And then in December, it gets colder and you can get snow. You get more and more snow, and it just stays. It stays from December, and you won't see the ground again until March or April, depending on the winter. For several months, January and February, it's very, very cold, and a lot of times it can be too cold to snow because the air gets so dry and so cold that there's no moisture to even create snow. And so a lot of times we get a really hard packed ground with some snow, really crunchy snow. And then when March comes, the sun starts to get warmer, the temperatures start to warm up, and then we start getting the snow. But the snow does melt more in March because it's warmer outside. This winter has been a little bit different because it's been warmer throughout the winter. We still have had those bitterly cold days, but it's as a whole been warmer, and we've gotten more and more and more and more and more snow. So much snow this year. Well, we get really tired of the winter, and we just are dreaming of warm weather. And what happens is if people can afford it, they go on a warm weather vacation to break things up, typically in March when they have kids that are in school. They do a spring break trip somewhere warm. And that means a lot of people from Minnesota just typically take a warm weather vacation to somewhere like Florida or basically anywhere than here. And if people don't have money, they sometimes maybe drive just south because a few hours can make a big difference. Years ago, we were up at a house a few hours north of the Twin Cities, and there was snow for quite a while there, where it just 2 hours south in the Twin Cities, the ground was visible. And we have driven south about 4 hours to get to Iowa before, and it's felt like much more like spring there than just 4 hours north up in the Twin Cities. So that's one way that we manage getting through our long winters, is if you can escape or find things that you really enjoy in the winter, like having a Siberian Husky who really enjoys the snow, or ice fishing, or snowmobiling, or snow tubing. There's a lot of different activities that we have going on throughout the winter that seems to make it better. My family decided to do a warm weather vacation this year. It's been a long time since we have done that, since a lot of our money has actually been going to medical bills for quite some time with having children with special needs. If you have kids with special needs, you can relate to what I'm saying, because the doctor bills just never stop. You always have them, and it really interferes with what other people get to have or experience sometimes. But this year we decided we're going to go on a warm weather vacation. This is when I like to say the word scope creep. If you don't work in the business world, scope creep is when you have a project and you set a specific amount of time or dollars that you are going to provide on this project. Over the course and the life of the project, you may have things where people start saying, I really would like to do this, or I'd really like to do that. And before you know it, your timeline or your budget gets destroyed by this thing called scope creep. Well, we decided to plan this warm weather vacation. We tried to do it for as inexpensively as possible. And we started by booking a place in Las Vegas outside of the Strip where we could take the family. It would be warmer than where we are now, and we could just have a nice time for not very much money, because flights to Las Vegas are typically very cheap. We started to look for flights, and we found them to be very, very expensive. And that's when the scope creep began. We started to look for other places where we could fly into, and we found cheaper tickets into LAX, into Los Angeles of all places, and we realized it would be a 4-hour drive to get to Las Vegas. We booked our tickets to go there, and then we realized, well, now we need a car to drive to Las Vegas. And then we decided, hey, since we're going to be flying in close to Anaheim, why don't we go to Disneyland? And then we thought to ourselves, well, since we're going to Las Vegas, we've never seen the Grand Canyon. And so our trip really, really got big fast. We were getting ready for our super large vacation for our family. And it was a few days before we were supposed to go. And we went down into our basement and we found water pouring into the basement. And we were supposed to be going on vacation. Horrible. I don't know why my life has to always be an adventure, but it always is. And there's always something going on, and nothing typically runs smoothly. Initially, we thought with the water coming in that it was a result of this strange winter that we've been having. It had rained and the water had no place to go but towards the house and into a basement because all of the ground was frozen, so the water couldn't go into the ground. But near the base of your home, it's a little bit warmer, and lots of people were having water into their basements for the first time ever. I thought it was strange when I was looking at where the water was coming into the basement, though. It was in an exterior wall that was actually above ground, which is very strange because typically in a scenario that I just described, the water would be coming in through a basement that is underneath the ground into the, it's been dug out and it's in the actual ground. I did further investigation and we pulled the carpet up and we pulled the trim off and we found duct tape. Well, a builder doesn't typically put duct tape behind the trim in a wall. We also saw that the trim was very strange because there was weird wood pieces on it. We had to call in a contractor to come and take a look at the construction of this piece of the house because this was an addition that had been done not very long ago by the previous homeowners. When he came in to do the investigation, he found that on the exterior of the home should have concrete blocks built up the side of the home to protect the home from water leaking in because we have snow that goes against the sides of the house. This particular house, this addition was not built to code, and I don't know if it's because they tried to do it themselves, but it had concrete poured and then wood built up from that spot. So that means that if there's snow against the side of the home, it will leak underneath into the room, which is very bad. So now we are stuck with a decision. We have to, number one, wait until spring so we can verify that we actually had a basement poured or a footings and things because it's a 2-story addition. And our fingers and toes are crossed that that's been done. If it has not been done, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's a tear down. I don't know if that means we have to go to the previous homeowners. I'm not entirely sure what that even means. If it was actually poured and we have footings and that's all okay, then we have to look at other water mitigation strategies because the home has been built. You can't be putting concrete in now. You can have the basement jackhammered up and put in a draining system where the water actually flows behind the wall, but that wouldn't help us in this situation since it's leaking in at the base of the room. So that won't work. And so we have to look at, you can dig up the yard and put a buried trough kind of where the water can flow out to the back of your house. So doing it through landscaping. So you can fix through landscaping or through the actual structure of your home. We could try to do the water mitigation where you put this weird wall and then you redo the wall and then they jackhammer the basement and then the water travels actually behind the wall into the floor, into a room that has a hole in it, and they put a pump in it, and then the pump actually takes the water and shoots it out of your house so that anything that comes in gets shot back out. Our house does, however, sit on sand, and sand actually, the water goes very quickly past your house and should not go into your basement in this type of soil. So we're really hoping that we can get someone to come out and do that landscaping, and we're really hoping that our house has been built appropriately, but I still need to follow up with the contractor to make sure that everything is to code enough so that if we ever choose to move, we aren't in trouble. And that also means that if there's a larger problem at hand, we may have to talk to our realtor to find out what that means, and I really hope we don't have to go through that process. What I found through this has been super interesting, though, for anybody who is looking to purchase a home. I learned something new, which I would like to share with you. Several things that I learned are, if you are purchasing a home, most often they being a realtor, or maybe anybody else will suggest that somebody comes in and does an inspection of the home. And the inspector comes in and looks at what they can to determine if anything is broken, that things are up to code, and you know what you're really purchasing. At that point, you have the opportunity to cancel your purchase agreement if the house is not up to what you were expecting it to be, or you can negotiate for things to be fixed before you purchase the home. That is pretty standard. But the part I didn't know is who can inspect your home and what protection do they have, and can you go after them after the fact if they do a poor job? Well, first of all, the person who is going to be an inspector in the state of Minnesota only has to take a 2-hour class to be certified. Now, I don't know if they have to have a contractor license or anything else previous to that, but it's only a 2-hour class that they take on learning how to inspect your home. So as you can imagine, you have people who are very good at it and people that are not very good at it. People that are very detailed and people that are not very detailed. The second thing is that the inspector cannot be held liable for anything that they don't find. So in our specific case, we had an inspector come out to inspect our home, and they would have been able to see the exterior at that point and the interior of our home. I'm not sure if they would have been able to see the problem since it was probably behind the wall, but you would think on the exterior you would be able to see that. We are not able to go after that person even though the home was not built up to code because they are protected. And so I don't know how much value an inspector actually brings unless you know the inspector or the amount of experience that they have, which is super hard if you're not in the industry. The contractor we had that came out to look at our property who could have fixed it for us on the side does some inspecting work. He was incredibly detailed and would have been able to find these things, I believe. So that's important for you to note before you sink your money into an inspector, that you really know what their experience is. Our inspector also did not find that the basement water in one of the faucets didn't work. That would have been easier to find. Just turn the water on. They also did not find that our shower in the basement does not run anything except hot water. That would have been something that a better inspector would have found out. And it just seems like we keep finding things here and there that are broken in our new to us home. So please beware. This is another real estate tip for you. The other thing that I learned is if you live in a house in Minnesota that has a basement, what you need to do is snowblow or shovel in years like this around your house and then make a trail so it goes around the house and then do a trail out the back if you're on any kind of slope. That way, if it rains or the water comes down before the ground has thawed, the water will actually go around your home and then out that kind of trail that you've provided into the back. The contractor that I talked to had some old timers, he called them, so older people that had had water leakage previously due to a winter like this. And they hired him to take a machine to go around the house and create this protection barrier so that their house would not receive water in it. The other thing is that one of the things that can happen is when it's wintertime and you get a lot of snow, if you're not having the right filtering of air through your attic, your roof can become too warm and the roof becomes cold from the snow. And then warm air goes up through your attic if it's not circulating appropriately, and it melts that snow, and then that snow turns into water, and all of it gets frozen on your roof at the edges and creates things called ice dams. And what happens is these gigantic things of ice eventually leak through your roof into your home. And they can melt it, but it's incredibly expensive to melt. And insurance, you'd have to call them, but our insurance wouldn't cover the removal of the ice dams. They will cover any damage that comes as a result of the ice dams, but will not actually do the preventative work of it. In the springtime, we can take a look at our roof, and there is something that can be installed on the roof that spins, that you can put on there that takes that air and makes sure that it's circulating appropriately. The other thing is, I think it's called the soffits or the facets. I'm not sure. But it's like the roof comes down and it sticks out a bit. And there's a little bit of almost like a overhang. And there's little holes in there. And if they get plugged with dirt, debris, cobwebs, any of that kind of stuff, it stops the air from circulating and can also cause ice dams. So we need to go outside with a broom and brush those out and clean them out. The contractor said we could use a pressure hose to spray out those, but he said the water that comes out is so gross and it will go on your house and you will not be able to get it off. So he suggested using a broom to just clean out those so that air would circulate appropriately. You can also use a roof rake and scrape the snow down, but you have to be careful of the snow falling on you, and sometimes the rake doesn't go high enough up to get that snow down to stop those dams. My last story for this episode is 2 things that happened the day before we flew out for our vacation. The first thing is that I had some of my boys' friends over, and I was upstairs finishing work, and this poor child decided to swing off my sofa and somehow fell and landed on his face and broke some of his teeth off. Luckily, it wasn't his front tooth. It was another tooth that he broke, a baby tooth. But the kids were screaming. I was in a meeting, stopped the meeting, run downstairs. They just bleed. So his mouth was bleeding really bad and there's blood everywhere. Trying to calm this poor child down. Luckily, the mom was awesome and she didn't blame me at all and she was wonderful, but I felt so bad. And then in the middle of that, the bus came by with my preschooler, and they are not allowed to let the preschooler off the bus without a parent, and I completely forgot him. Hot mess mom. So he just continued on down the road, and luckily a friend helped me out and saved my poor preschooler. But that happened the day before we went on vacation. We were leaving the next day, first thing in the morning, and here we have this massive chaos in our life like normal. My Messy Beautiful Life can now be found on YouTube. You can find it by searching for My Messy Beautiful Life podcast. If you are enjoying My Messy Beautiful Life, please subscribe or share it with other people. So far, I'm proud to say that My Messy Beautiful Life has been heard in the United States, Germany, United Kingdom, Canada, France, Serbia, Australia, and Iceland. I am excited as I am hoping that I bring you guys joy and laughter one story at a time. As a reminder, if you'd like to connect with me, send me an email to mymessybeautifullifekc@gmail.com. Hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.